This video is going to go over question 3 from your mini exam. It says that suppose that sine of theta is equal to 1/3 and that theta is between pi over 2 and pi. And it wants us to find the value of secant of theta and the sine of 2 theta. So the first thing that came to mind for me when I was approaching this problem, I was like, well, maybe I can find what theta is and use that to find secant of theta and sine of 2 theta. And then I was like, well, I know these values for sine of theta, like sine of theta can equal 1/2, it can equal square root of 3 over 2, it can equal square root of 2 over 2, it can equal 1, it can equal 0, and those are values that I all knew from the unit circle. But 1/3 isn't one of those values, so that approach isn't really going to help us here. So let's draw what our reference triangle would look like and see if that's any help. So we can label this side our x, this side our y, and this side our r. And we know that sine of theta, in this case, is equal to 1/3, but we also know sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse, or y over r. And so we know that y would be equal to 1, and r would be equal to 3. So now we have a right triangle, and we know 2 of the sides. So we can solve for our third side using Pythagorean theorem. We know that x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And substituting these values in for y and r, we get x squared is equal to x squared plus y squared, so plus 1 squared, which is just 1, is equal to 3 squared, which is 9. So we get x squared is equal to 8. The square root of x is equal to 2 root 2. Now, when we're taking the square root of both sides, we have to figure out if we're doing plus or minus. So in this case, we need to choose the minus, and that's because we're in quadrant 2, where our x value is negative. Great, so now we know all 3 sides of our triangle. So our x is equal to negative 2 root 2. And now we just need to find the secant. Well, secant, remember, is the reciprocal of cosine, and cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So secant of theta is equal to hypotenuse over adjacent. And that's equal to 3 over negative 2 root 2. So that's what secant of theta is equal to. Now let's find sine of 2 theta. Well, we know sine of 2 theta is equal to 2 sine of theta cosine of theta. Draw a line there to separate that. So we know what sine of theta is. We were given that in our problem. So 2 times 1/3. And we can figure out what cosine of theta is. Well, cosine of theta is a reciprocal of our secant, which we just found. So that's equal to negative 2 root 2 over 3. And now we can simplify this. So in our numerator, we have 2 times a negative 2 root 2. So negative 4 root 2 over 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So we know that the sine of 2 theta is equal to negative 4 root 2 over 9.